All sports games, NBA 2K included, have been put in a tough spot this year. With the next-gen consoles on the horizon, developers need to determine how much focus should be dedicated to current-gen titles versus next-gen. This theory applies to NBA 2K14. The series is known for being the best basketball sim on the market, and this year is no different. Improved AI, new collision animations, and tweaked blocking mechanic all make the gameplay experience much better. But that's where the changes end, essentially making NBA 2K14 more like NBA 2K13.5. If you played NBA 2K before, you'll be able to pick up and play NBA 2K14 and master the hardwood fairly quickly. Controls have been slightly tweaked with changes to the Pro Stick, but it's only a slight learning curve. After a few tries, you'll be pulling moves off in no time. The biggest gameplay changes involve the game's physicality and AI. The game plays much more realistically with the addition of dozens of new collision animations. If you take the ball in the paint, you'll likely collide with a defensive player, resulting in a change to your shot, spilling to the floor, or getting your shot blocked. Speaking of blocks, get ready to see a bunch of them this year. In past titles, blocking shots was virtually impossible. In NBA 2K14, you can actually block shots consistently with authority. 2K has been criticized in the past for the lack of roster updates. To answer the critics, they've added dynamic roster updates this year, claiming to update the game with hot and cold streaks and ratings updates more consistently. However, only time will tell if 2K can deliver on this promise. Now, outside of these changes, NBA 2K14 still entails the same solid gameplay you've known to love. Imagine NBA 2K13's Jay-Z inspired presentation. Now, picture that same presentation with a new color scheme and replace Jay-Z's music playlist with LeBron James's, and you got yourself NBA 2K14's presentation. Pre-game intros, stat overlays, scorebug, and menus are almost exactly the same as last year. Crowds are lacking and player reactions to big shots are inconsistent. Is it too hard to ask for a realistic reaction to a game-winning shot? 2K Sports is typically known for their attention to detail when it comes to these things, but this year they dropped the ball. Kevin Harlan, Steve Kerr, and Clark Kellogg return for commentary duties, and as always, the trio delivers. New dialogue has been added to reflect the real-life changes in the league. In one game, they joked about the New Orleans Pelicans name change.
Something that is connected to the city. I'm talking about the name, the Pelicans, because remember, originally this team was known as the Jazz, and that made sense. Utah Jazz made no sense. New Orleans Hornets made no sense. New Orleans Pelicans make sense, guys.
The new commentary lines are great, but overall the game's presentation is not much of an update from last year's game, which is disappointing. This is one instance where you can make the argument to wait a month for the next-gen version of NBA 2K14. Graphically, this game has pushed the current-gen consoles to their limits. Player models, courts, and crowds are as realistic as it gets, but you can't tell the difference between NBA 2K14 and NBA 2K13. They both look exactly the same, and the copy and pasted presentation only highlight this fact. The biggest non-gameplay additions to NBA 2K14 are the Path to Greatness and Crew modes. Path to Greatness is a story mode built around the career of NBA 2K14's cover athlete, LeBron James. Users can choose between two paths and guide the future of LeBron's career by playing through games with different scenarios involved. Sounds like a fun mode on the surface, but it isn't as engaging as My Player or past modes like NBA's Greatest Mode or the Jordan Challenge. The infamous Crew mode is back this year, but it's limited to blacktop gameplay, which will upset some loyalists of the mode. Outside of this and the addition of EuroLeague teams, everything else is exactly the same as last year. My team got a few minor tweaks, but is the same. My Player got no updates, and association modes, online and offline, remain untouched for yet another year. The subtle changes in NBA 2K14's gameplay is the best thing about this game. It simply plays a better game of basketball than last year, but that's where the changes end. It's still the greatest basketball simulation out, but if you plan on waiting for next gen, you're better off doing so. That's it for this episode of Sports Gamer Show. If you want more content, go to the website www.sportsgamershow.com. Make sure to like the Sports Gamer Show Facebook page, follow me on Twitter at SportsGamerShow, and add me on Xbox Live and the PlayStation Network. I'm Rio Pacino. I'll see you on the next show.